How's it going, everybody? The voice of Ed Ricker here, and in this video I'm going to be reviewing the new Radiomaster AG01 CNC Hall Gimbals. These are for the Radiomaster TX16S. I reviewed this radio earlier this year, and there is a Mark II out now, and you can actually get the AG01 Hall Gimbals pre-installed in your Mark II. Now, the AG01 aluminum gimbals have been around for a few months, but they have new color offerings: red, gold, blue, purple, and green, along with new pre-installed sticky 360 gimbal stick ends. So these are a little bit different than the AG01s that you might have seen earlier this year. I opted for these blue AG01 gimbals, and they look so good. Don't get these confused with the Lumineer blue ones that were released earlier this year. Those are different and they don't look nearly as vibrant. These are very bright, nice blue. Coming from the original Hall gimbals on the TX16S, I remember that they were made of plastic, essentially. There were some metal components, but mostly plastic. And so when you move the thumbstick all the way to the end of the gimbal travel, it would maybe bend a little bit with some pressure, and honestly, they're just not quite as high quality as these new gimbals. These new ones feel so good, in part because they're almost completely CNC aluminum. They feature non-contact Hall sensors for accurate control inputs and precise centering, precision bearings, and also a pretty nice packaging when it got shipped here. They're easy to install and even easier to adjust. You have all these different 1.5 mil screws on the front that adjust the various tensions as well as the throw of the gimbal, and you can make these adjustments on the fly, almost literally. I mean, I basically would land, make a few adjustments with my screwdriver, take off again, and the ease at which I was able to do this meant that I could get the exact feel I was looking for, as opposed to having to take the radio apart and not having the gimbal feel fresh in my mind. The only exception to this is the throttle tension adjustment. So you do have to open up the radio in order to adjust your throttle tension as well as the ratcheting, whether or not you want to have that engaged. You can go on the website and see the exterior adjustments, what each screw does. Everything else can be done with the radio put together. So I really like that. Over the weekend, I was able to do some freestyle and use a stick cam with the GoPros to kind of show how I was operating the radio with these gimbals. I was also able to chase Shelby Vol with his wing, and that kind of provided a different sort of test. A little bit different control style versus freestyle, which might include snap rolls and snap flips and stuff like that. When I was doing freestyle with more full stick deflection, I realized that I needed to kind of bring in the travel limits of these gimbals. So I was realizing that at full deflection, I was almost touching the gimbal stick to the radio, and it was just so wide. I like a wide throw on my gimbals, but not this wide. So with my screwdriver, I was able to bring that back to center a little bit, and that way my fingers weren't moving around quite so much. It was easier to freestyle. Didn't notice that with chasing because, honestly, I was able to kind of keep my thumbs in the center when I was chasing. I usually don't do the full deflection when I'm chasing something like this. Just remember to calibrate your sticks after you do an adjustment like this. It's easy to do in the radio. It takes about 30 seconds, not a big deal. But each time you adjust the travel limit on these gimbals, you will have to recalibrate them. Also, because I control the sticks with a hybrid grip, which means that I have my thumb on the top of the stick and then use my index finger to support it on the side, the knurling, if you want to call it, the very grippy side to the sticky 360 gimbal stick ends feel amazing. I really like them a lot more than, well, honestly, any other gimbal I've tried. You can also buy those sticky 360 gimbal ends separately, so if you bought the AG01s before and you want to try out these new gimbal stick ends, you can go ahead and do that. Installing them is really easy. So first of all, you take off the back plate of the TX16S. There are 4 main screws on the back and then also 2 at the top by your 2.4 gigahertz antenna. You also have to take off the side grip pieces, and then the radio will come apart. Make sure not to pull aggressively because the back is still connected with a couple power leads to the speaker. I didn't have to disconnect those speakers, I was just careful. Also, when I put the radio down like this on my workbench, I made sure to put a towel underneath so I wouldn't scratch things, I wouldn't break a switch. There are 4 screws that are securing your old gimbals, and then of course your communication, your data harnesses, so you just pull those off after you unscrew your gimbals, and they come up pretty easy. The AG01s drop right into place. If you bought these in a set, then one of your gimbals will definitely have your throttle desprung, and it's going to be easy to figure out which one that is. Also make sure your orientation is proper. So when you get your gimbals, there will be instructions, and you'll be able to understand which is up and which is down on each gimbal. Screw them back in, plug in your data connection harnesses, and at this point you do want to adjust your throttle friction or your tension, also your ratcheting if you want to have that on or off. This adjustment is the only adjustment you need to make with the radio open. Once you get your throttle feel set, you can then put the back on the radio, button everything back up, screw it in. You can also see on the website or the included instructions that there are all these screws around the face of the gimbal and what each screw does. So whether it's going to be spring tension or, upper or lower travel limit, you can make those exterior adjustments with the radio put together. So my final thoughts about these gimbals, I really like them. I've had my eye on them for months. So glad that I finally have them. I think when I first saw them on Joshua Bardwell's channel, they piqued my interest. And since then, that's always been like a to-do thing on my list of things I want to do with FPV is gotta get those AG01 gimbals in my TX16S. So glad I do. These new color options with the new stick ends are $10 more than the regular AG01s, but like I said, with those improved sticky 360 gimbal ends and the nice colors, I actually do think that it's worth the 10 extra bucks. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. There's a link in the video description, and until next time, happy flying.